What's up, nerds, and welcome back to Noisy News Week for the week of January 24th, 2026. This is a show where we talk about all the notable news posted to noisypixel.net this past week. This is a pretty packed show with big publisher shakeups, RPG deep dives, and a few surprise reveals, along with more than a handful of indies that are quietly doing really interesting things. And just for a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in, if you want to support what we do here, please check out our Patreon, where you can also get access to our free digital magazine that releases monthly. That's available to our subscribers, both free and paid, but paid subscribers get access to our weekly podcast Unqualified Game Chat a week early. Now, let's get on to the show. This week, Ubisoft confirmed a major internal restructure. 6 projects were canceled outright, and 7 more were delayed. 2 studios fully shut down as well, and yes, that includes the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, which has now been officially canceled after years of stops, restarts, and silence. On top of that, a number of teams are facing additional layoffs, and Ubisoft is pushing a full return to office across its studios following the COVID remote work initiative that came 5 years ago. One thing worth clearing up right away, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still alive. Surprisingly, that game looked the worst out of all their lineup if you ask me, but barely survived, maybe. It's still in development and now sits under Ubisoft's new narrative-focused creative house. And meanwhile, one of the biggest delayed titles is widely believed to be Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake, which we might not see between now and maybe March 2027. Ubisoft says it is all about focusing on fewer projects that can actually compete in a crowded market, but between the cancellations, closures, and financial resets, it's hard not to see this as just a company trying to stabilize after years of overextension, but we'll follow that in the months to come. Moving on. Another story this week that blew up pretty quickly, and it sits right in the intersection of modding, money, and publisher control. The creative behind the Cyberpunk 2077 VR mod that was recently hit with the DMCA says people are now pirating his work to, quote, punish him for breaking CD Projekt Red's terms of service. The mod was previously paywalled through Patreon, which CD Projekt Red said violates its fan content rules, even though the company publicly praised the quality of work and said it would welcome a free release. What makes this messy is the fallout, though. The mod creator says that the DMCA effectively wiped out his distribution overnight, and now copies of the mod are spreading anyway, often with outright harassment attached to it. Some fans argue he should have just made it free and taken donations, and others say publishers shouldn't get to dictate how the independent tools are monetized when they don't include any game assets. Either way, the end result is likely the same. The mod is gone officially, the community is split, and VR modding once again takes the hit. I'm curious, where do we all land on this one? Let me know in the comments below. On a lighter note, Nintendo has announced a surprise Super Mario Galaxy Movie Nintendo Direct happening this Sunday, January 25th, which is already unusual since weekend directs are basically non-existent. This one is focused entirely on the upcoming animated sequel, which we already know is bringing in Rosalina and Bowser Jr., with more details expected just a couple of months ahead of the film's April release. Nintendo also says that they have more to show, so whether that's new characters or new environments, we'll be sure to cover that on noisypixel.net. And now let's move into some game updates of the week, starting with the long-running series that has plenty of passionate fans, where RGG Studio has stepped in to clear up some air around the Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Tide's release, especially concerns about Yakuza 3 Remaster. With the remake launching on February 12, 2026, the studio acknowledged the ongoing feedback, saying that they've heard the community loud and clear, even if they can't respond to everyone individually. They also stressed that they're sticking to their creative vision with this release, promising new experiences alongside the remake. Now, the big clarification here is availability. If you already own Yakuza 3 Remastered, nothing changes. You keep access, but for new players, it looks like the remastered version may no longer be sold on its own and instead folded into the Yakuza Complete Series bundle. RGG didn't outright say it will be delisted, but the wording definitely points in that direction. It's another case of publishers reshuffling legacy titles ahead of big releases, and it raises questions about how accessible these older entries would stay in the future. So be sure to let me know how you feel about this in the comments below. Next up, action RPG fans finally get an update from the indie-developed Mahou Arms, which is finally on the exit plan from its early access stint, which has been 6 years. I remember previewing it back in 2020. The Nier-inspired action RPG hits version 1.0 on April 27th, with the price increase coming a month earlier in March, as the early access discount rolls off. If you already own it, you're all set, but new players will want to jump in sooner rather than later. The game's built around character action combat with magical girl operatives fighting back against an alien invasion, and the devs are still planning additional content and free updates as it heads towards full release. There's also some adult flavor to this game if you manage to find it online. I'll leave that up to you Google searchers out there to discover on your own. As a quick indie highlight, a free demo for Witch of the Yelekedis. I don't know about that name. Yelekedis. Well, anyway, it's live now on itch.io. This seems like a pretty cool game for visual novel fans. During gameplay, there's no clearly labeled right or wrong choices, and instead the game leans hard into ethics, culture, and perspective, letting decisions reflect your values rather than steering you towards optimal outcomes. The full game is planned as a free release as well, with the development supported through optional soundtrack purchases. And the demo already gives a surprising deep look at its world, characters, and themes. If you're into narrative-driven indies and trust that you can think for yourselves to get through an adventure, this one is probably worth the look. One for the collaboration fans out there, Dolphin Wave has kicked off a crossover with Atelier Ryza, and it's live right now. But this is a Japanese game, it's Ryza though, so we're covering it. In this collaboration, Ryza joins the roster as a playable character with a swimsuit outfit and dual pistols, while Yamaba Yumi gets a Claudia-inspired costume and weapon set. There are also limited time crossover machines and cosmetics tied to the event, and even more outfits teased later on. If you're playing this game, please let me know in the comments below because I'd like to see all of your recorded gameplay. An update for niche JRPG fans, East Asia Soft announced a physical PC release for Tokyo Clanpoo in the form of an uncut edition. This release will restore all content from the original Japanese version that was cut and offers a patch for the existing GOG owners to do the same. Pre-orders open on January 22nd, which is available now. There's only actually 1,000 copies planned to be released worldwide, bundled with a USB copy of the game, soundtrack, artbook, and a full collector's box. In the same statement, the publisher confirmed that the Nintendo Switch version for the West has been cancelled entirely, making this physical PC release the only way to play the game physically. The game is available digitally, but that version is based on a modded release. The game's not that good, guys. It's okay. It's an okay Idea Factory game. Still, a quick update from Thunder Lotus Games, which is a developer that made some really cool games. Anyway, remember that game 33 Immortals? Well, it's finally coming out on Steam this summer, hoping to expand its reach after a strong and long early access run on Xbox and the Epic ecosystem. The co-op roguelike has already passed 1 million players and has gone through 5 major updates, and the Steam release will include all current content and improvements. It's another sign for the game to steadily build momentum as more players jump in for the rebellion. And we got some release dates, with the narrative-driven horror platformer Love Eternal launching on February 19th, 2026 on consoles and PC. It's only going to cost $10. The game is leaning into psychological horror rather than jump scares here, where you play as Maya navigating a gravity-shifting castle while dealing with family trauma, fractured friendships, and an ancient god problem. This definitely feels like a lot for a teenager, but early impressions point out to a constant sense of unease rather than outright terror. And at this price point, you know what? It's an easy one to keep on your radar if you like story-first horror. It looks like there's some challenge to it too, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Something that I feel shook the gaming industry a little more than I thought it would, Square Enix revealed Life is Strange Reunion, bringing Max and Chloe back together for the first time in years, launching on March 26, 2026. Yeah, very soon. The story jumps ahead with Max now teaching photography at a university that's nearly wiped out by a massive fire. Yeah, shit just seems to follow Max, I guess. Anyway, she's forced to use her rewind power to relive the days leading up to the disaster. Chloe's return is tied to timeline fallout from double exposure, and for the first time in the series, you'll play as both characters, swapping perspectives and abilities as the story builds towards a definitive conclusion. If you've been waiting to see these two reunite, and I definitely haven't, but this is the moment. This is the moment, I guess, that we've been waiting for. I don't know. There should have only been one game. Let's be honest, guys. Moving on though, the side-scrolling collectathon platformer Rubato lands on March 20th, 2026 on PS5, Switch, and PC. This game is set in a bizarre far future universe run into the ground by a megacorp, and mechanically it's built around an unconventional movement system where you literally lick enemies and objects to navigate and explore. Between the compact, layered stages, the offbeat humor, and the surprising heavy themes lurking under the silliness, this feels like one of those indie platformers that's either going to really click with you or completely catch you off guard. Another game that we have our eye on, strategy RPG Stardust Wish of Witch, now has a a playable demo on Steam, offering about an hour or so of turn-based, grid-focused combat built around card counters and combo systems. The game leans into classic strategy RPG vibes with pixel art presentation, but spices things up with cinematic 2D animations during key story beats. If you're curious about a smaller scale tactical RPG with modern touches, this demo is an easy way to see if it clicks with you, and the trailer looks really cool. The adventure RPG The Non-Existence of Morphean Paradox, The Forest of Silver Shallots. Yes, that's the title of the game. Anyway, it's now on Steam Early Access with a small launch discount, and it's built entirely around player choice and consequence. The game has you leading a guild through a branching narrative where relationships, survival, and even whether the journey continues at all can change based on your decisions. The current build includes the first chapter, multiple character storylines, and side quests, with more content planned over the next several months as feedback rolls in. This week we got a new trailer from developer Inti Creates showing off their new game Kingdom's Return: Time-Eating Fruit and the Ancient Monster. This is a mix of side-scrolling action and kingdom rebuilding. In the game you play as an adventurer partnered with Kronos, the Fairy of Time, gathering materials during missions to rebuild the fallen kingdom of Almacia and power yourself up in the process. With 4 playable characters offering very different playstyles, it's shaping up as a strategy-leaning action game worth keeping an eye on when it launches on April 23rd, 2026. And for the nostalgic brawlers out there, Fighting Force Collection launched this week, bringing the original Fighting Force and Fighting Force 2 to modern platforms. The first game is a classic late 90s co-op 3D beat-em-up with multiple playable characters, while the sequel narrows the focus to Hawk Mansion with faster combat and heavier emphasis on weapons. If you've got nostalgia for that early PlayStation early brawler energy, this one is for you. One cool game that caught my eye this week was Ratcheteer DX, and it's bringing its playdate action adventure roots to Switch and PC on March 5th, 2026. There's a free Steam demo available right now that carries progress to the full game. This expanded version upgrades the original with full color visuals, new content, multiple visual filters, and a polished soundtrack, all wrapped in an explorative driven adventure around surviving in a frozen underground world. If you missed it on Playdate, and I'm sure many of you did, this looks like a great second chance. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this game, because it definitely looks cute to me. Some horror gaming updates this week with Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly adding in a new ending alongside the original, plus new side stories, areas, and an original song written for the remake. In an interview, the developer said that the goal isn't just visual polish, but expanding the story while preserving what made the original so unsettling. With modernized camera control and refined camera obscura mechanics, the game launches on March 12th, 2026. And I'm curious, if you've played the original, how do you feel about the updated ending? I, for one, don't really mind it because the endings of Fatal Frames aren't always the most clear. So if they can clear things up for me, I'm all game. We'll see how it is, though, in a couple months. Time flies, guys. We got some big RPG updates this week with developer Playground Games showing off extended gameplay from their Fable reboot, confirming an autumn 2026 release and a much heavier emphasis on character customization and flexible combat. The details shared explain how players will now have direct control over their hero's appearance instead of tying it entirely to morality, while combat blends melee ranged weapons and magic through what the studio calls style weaving. It's still meant to be very much Fable at its core, with Albion, social systems, and long-term consequences intact, but modernized in a way that feels tangible after years of waiting. The game looks great. I'm not sure about the character models. I'm not sure. They look fine. They look fine. Right? Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this Fable reboot. I've only ever played the first one with friends growing up when I was about 16, 15, so I don't have a very strong attachment to the series. But if you do, please let me in the comments how you feel about this new direction. But more notably, in that Xbox Developer Direct, developer Game Freak, who you might know from Pokemon, shared new gameplay from Beast of Reincarnation and confirmed a summer 2026 release window. This is an action RPG set in a ruined version of Japan, built around fast technical combat and exploration alongside a canine companion named Ku. The team says that the game is driven less by systems first design and more by themes of loneliness, trust, and survival, with environments that change as you defeat major enemies. It's a very different look for Game Freak and one that clearly is trying to carve out its own identity. All I can say is it's really cool seeing Game Freak get their flowers for this one. But there's more news, with Fantasista Asuka launching on February 12th, 2026 on Switch and PC, and this game is already drawing some attention with how it handles its more risque moments. Alongside real-time women's soccer gameplay and an underdog sports story, Kiwami is including an optional sensitive mode. This is meant to blast certain scenes with exaggerated beams of light to obscure uniform damage and post-match visuals, mainly to help with streaming on platforms and other rules. It's fully toggleable, though the Switch and PC version still different presentation, with the PC version showing a little more skin than the Switch version, but it's there for choice. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this one. What could possibly go wrong? Well, Bubsy is back, bitches. Atari announced that Bubsy 4D launches on May 22nd, 2026 for like $20 across basically every console, with physical Switch and Switch 2 editions already confirmed. This release, developed by Fabraz, is leaning fully into a 3D platformer revival, complete with hub worlds, fully voiced cutscenes, online leaderboards, unlockable outfits, and even ghost racing, because it's all about the speed in this game. Whether this is a redemption arc or another chapter in Bubsy's weird legacy remains to be seen, but it's definitely happening, and I'm personally all here for it. One reveal that caught my eye this week is Honkai Games launching the Steam page for Noir Bloom alongside a teaser trailer. This game looks slick as hell. It's a 2D action game built around fast, close quarters gun-fu, constant momentum, and turning enemies into weapons mid-fight, all set in a neon-soaked Hong Kong-inspired city. There's not many story details yet, but the vibe alone is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, we have a delay. Psyvariar 3, the first numbered entry in the series in over 2 decades, has been pushed from March to a May 21st, 2026 release. The team says that the extra time is going towards balance and polish, and honestly, after a 22-year wait, a few more weeks probably isn't going to break anyone. A new trailer is streaming now, and the core buzz-based risk-reward shooting is very much intact. So we'll wait for the release to see what this game packs. And that's it. That's the news. That was a long one. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Be safe. Bye.
Noisy Pixel.